You are listening to the Two Gingers podcast, streaming on Apple Podcasts and Podbean now. Here are your hosts, Sir William and the Duchess.
Good day. My name is Sir William, and I am here with the gingerest of the gingers. Yeah, that's the sexy one. The ginger.
It's me, the Duchess.
Oh, it's the Duchess.
You even forgot my name today.
Well, it's been a long time since we rocked and rolled.
It has been some time.
But you know what? We're back.
We're back.
And better than ever.
That's right.
And we got a good show today.
Oh, man. You better buckle up.
Yeah, get your popcorn, because this is going to be a good one.
Okay.
So here's the deal. We have a little story to tell. Some of you out there who are perhaps fans or listeners might know that we used to be with a little radio station, WKRP, in Lake in the Hills. We are no longer with said station, and there's a reason for that. What's really cool is there's a scene out of a movie, which we're going to play the clip from right here, which we kind of think sums this story up.
It sums it up
pretty darn
better
good.
than we could have.
Pretty darn good.
Yes.
So take a little listen to this. It's only a minute long.
I don't even think I'm coming back. I don't. Yeah, well, that's because I'm not. Look, I'm serious. If I leave now, I'm not coming back.
Did you just say that? Shut up, Bradley.
Last time.
Emily. No. Look, I talked to the guys, and if you still want to manage us, I mean, it's okay with us.
Rob, I'm a businesswoman. And rule number one in this business is you go where the talent is. And all the fucking talent that was in this van has just left the room.
Now, that movie is awesome. I love Jennifer Aniston and Marky Mark. God bless.
It's so good.
So good. If you
Such
haven't,
an underrated movie.
I know.
by the
If
way.
you haven't seen, is it The Rockstar or is it just Rockstar? If you haven't seen Rockstar, go Netflix it or Amazon Prime it or whatever you need to do. However you see your movies nowadays, go ahead and do that.
And a little like side thing without wrecking anything, you got to keep watching through the credits.
Oh, yeah.
Because
Yes.
that was just phenomenal what his staff did for him.
Yeah.
But listen, let me just tell you, we're not here to say, as a matter of fact, never once have we ever claimed that we were, superstars or this or that or better than we were.
No.
You and I are two people who started a radio show 5 years ago, and the entire time we have literally been learning about radio. We have been trying to get better with everything that we do.
Yeah.
We're trying to be relatable to the people that would listen to us and really working our asses off to try to get new people to listen to us as well. I mean,
Right.
we've worked our asses off.
Yeah.
Ergo, neither one of us have an ass anymore because they're gone. But, we've never been like, pat us on the back or anything like that.
No.
This is not for, I'll tell you this. I got to digress for 1 second. When I started with Travis,
Yeah.
Travis and I thought it was pretty cool to have business cards and to go out to bars and stuff and just be like, yeah, we're on the radio.
Right.
That phase lasted for like 20 minutes or maybe like 3 times out,
Right.
and then it was over. So it's never been about anything like that. It's really been about, for us, a creative outlet and really trying to learn about what we're doing and get better and entertain people.
Right. And when I came into the mix, it was immediately about giving back to the community.
Right.
And I think if you go back and listen to our older podcasts, like way, way back at the very beginning, when I first came on and we still had the EP Emeritus in town, I think it was within the first 6 months that we claimed hashtag people helping people as our motto. And that was our driving force.
Completely.
We just wanted to give back to our community.
Yeah.
We wanted to raise awareness that we were there. Remember the first parade that we were in?
Yes.
You and I were holding the banner, or was the banner behind us on a car?
I feel like we were holding it.
Okay. As we're coming down the road, people are shaking their heads, scratching their heads, and they're like,
what is this?
What?
Yeah.
What is this? The first Balls Wednesday that we went to, and we had stacks and stacks of cards to talk about WKRP. Everybody that we talked to, the majority of the people that we talked to, had no idea this station even existed.
Right.
And we were there solely to talk about the entire station.
And from the minute we started until the minute we finished, that was our MO. Now, we did have a little bit of our eyes opened up. Was it last summer when we went to the podcast movement in Chicago, which is
2 summers ago.
2 summers
but
ago?
Still, yeah.
Which is a national conference that just happened to be in Chicago. And, you know, again, we always looked at if we could raise the audience of our show, we would be raising the audience of the radio station. Hopefully people would come on to hear us, and then they would stay on and listen to other stuff on WKRP and Lake in the Hills.
Exactly.
But so that was our MO always.
Yeah.
And you know, we had a fun little run.
We did have a fun little run. Unfortunately, we were surrounded by some people,
jackasses.
Yeah,
let's be blunt.
Who didn't really understand our mission. They thought that, in my opinion, this is only my opinion. In my opinion,
it's shared.
They thought that we were in it for different reasons. It's not my fault that the Duchess and Sir William are phenomenal brands that we spent a lot of time building. We would go out to every ribbon cutting. We would be at every fair. We would be in front of the community constantly to raise awareness of WKRP.
Right.
Now, if that happened to be also that they were tuning into our show because they loved us after they met with us, I'm not going to turn that away, and I'm not going to apologize for it.
And again, we always did that with the mindset of if they're listening to us, they hopefully will save the station on their radio thing in their car, and they will have the station on.
And
it was always like
to listen.
It was always us to build the station.
Right.
From day one.
Right. And might I add, you and I were volunteers.
Oh, we didn't get paid?
We actually paid.
We spent so much money.
I spent so much money. When I was the program director for, 2 years? Mm-hmm. When I was the program director there, and I would throw parties for all of the volunteers and give out prizes and feed them, that was my pocket. Mm-hmm. That wasn't from WKRP. That was my pocket. And did I ever complain?
Or even bring it up.
Never even brought it up.
Yeah.
Then there was the time that you and I decided to go ahead. Well, you did it more than I did, but the one time that you and I decided to go ahead and make up plaques for some of the people in our organization that were retiring and moving on, and others that we just wanted to highlight, those came out of our pocket. Mm-hmm. And they weren't cheap. Right. Can I just say they were not cheap? And I was mortified to realize that in my sleepy state of being so overworked in all aspects of my life, when I actually ordered them online, I accidentally typed in the wrong year. I was so mortified that I wanted to go back and pay to have all brand new plaques reprinted. And unfortunately, Mr. Biggs said, "You're nuts. You've already spent too much money on this. They know it was an honest mistake. Like, let's just let it go." Did one person even make a handwritten card for us to congratulate us on 1,000 shows?
No.
Now, that's the kind of stuff that I think is crappy. That's when you should highlight somebody in your organization that's going above and beyond. But
no,
we just kept going.
Hammer that point home. We actually made ourselves little trophies to commemorate 1,000 shows.
We sure did, out of our pocket.
Yeah.
You know what didn't come out of our pocket is when we were asked to MC the local community chamber dinner.
Right.
And that was super duper fun. Didn't get paid a dime. Loved every minute of it. And we constantly said at the end of each sentence, WKRP. We wanted to nail it home that that's who we were there representing.
We were there. Well, and then let me just throw out another one. We did most of the events that we did under the umbrella of WKRP were for charities or things like that. But there was one that we did several years in a row, which was the Lake in the Hills Triathlon.
Yes.
And why? Do you remember why we initially did that? We initially did it because they offered to put the WKRP logo on the T-shirt.
Yes.
We couldn't afford T-shirts back at the ranch, so here was 5,000 T-shirts that would have the logo on.
And on the posters.
Yeah. Did anybody say anything? No.
Not
of course not.
a peep.
And here's the
Not a peep.
And here's the one story that that just sums it all up for me.
Here we go.
And we'll get into the much larger one, but every 6 months I would get an email from King Harold. The leader of the band,
Yeah.
who would say, "We are in the process of putting together a grant proposal or some opportunity for us to raise funds."
Right.
Because as anyone who has been involved there knows, it was very difficult to even get the $25,000 it cost to run the place.
Yeah.
So we did a lot of applying for grants and things of that nature. And we would get an email saying, "Hey, we're filling out a grant proposal. Can you send me a list of the last 6 months of all of the events that WKRP was a part of?"
Yeah.
So as, at the time, marketing director, obviously that's a fair question, right?
Right.
So I go through and I pull them all. Of course, it was all you and I. There
Right.
wasn't one time
Right.
that was not you and I.
Right.
A couple of them, we invited some other hosts to participate.
Right.
But we never once heard about anything until they needed it. And then sure enough, our list of stuff we were doing would show up in the proposal.
Right.
And again, we talked about this. You don't want to come in like you've got such a big ego, but if somebody's doing something for a radio station, they're going to be at an event. If you listen to 105.5 and Cicero and Tina, whatever, any other show you listen to, they'll say, "Hey, and on Thursday, Joe and Tina are going to be at
Right.
Mariano's grocery store,
Right.
Stop by and say hi, win some prizes or whatever." Not a word from anybody about anything. And they knew.
No, we actually got criticized when we tried to promote them on the morning show.
Right.
We got criticized that it was too much of a commercial, that we couldn't talk about it if it wasn't a charity event. What I really started to get annoyed with and what really started to piss me off is they started picking and choosing what they liked and what they wanted to hear and not what the actual FCC guidelines are, because we followed those guidelines. And the few times that we veered from it, it was an accident. We learned from it and we went back. One of them was when I was promoting a local play that was happening in another town over at this very famous theater. And I accidentally, out of habit, said, call this number to get tickets, call this number. And you're not allowed to say,
right,
to get tickets, call this number. You have to say, by the FCC, you have to say, for more information, call this number. I learned
and it never happened.
It was a mistake, and I never did it again. And this is where it gets so annoying. Seriously, like, I don't think you guys understand. Sir William and I have really poured our heart and soul into our art. And we have given so much to this organization that to have it all come crumbling, crashing down for absolutely no reason is just disgusting. And it's taken us a little while to get over it enough to even talk about it.
Right. Absolutely. And you know what really is hurtful is I try in this little while we've had just to even process it, let alone talk about it. I started thinking, like, is it possible that I personally or you and I were doing something that we just didn't see?
Mm-hmm.
You know, because there's always that chance in scenarios like this. And the only thing I could come up with is, I'll be the first to admit it, and I was most guilty of this of anyone at the station, was I liked to push the envelope. There was a lot of gray lines, and I like to walk right up to it.
Mm-hmm.
But case in point, one of those things early on was we came up with the idea to do a 24-hour radiothon.
Yeah.
And the purpose of that, if you recall, was to just get more publicity and make it into like a big community thing, make it bigger than it was for WKRP.
Right.
You know, just to blow it out there,
right,
get some new listeners,
right,
stand out on the street with signs, you know,
yeah,
and do this 24-hour thing. What was the feedback for that? You're crazy. You're nuts. Who's going to listen? Who's going to listen in the middle of the night?
Who's going to do it?
Right. Who's going to do all the work and blah, blah, blah. And sure enough, like everything else there, we did all the work for the first one. And we had people, a number of people that were there for the majority of the 24 hours. And guess what? The other thing which I said in the first sentence I said when I thought about this was, and tried to push it or present it, was I don't know if we're going to generate a nickel, but we'll try to raise some money.
Right.
Well, guess what? We raised enough money to build a tower so we could be on the FM dial, you know? So then it was like, when's the second one, you know?
Right.
And that was the typical reaction for everything we did.
Yeah.
It was doubt. You had to fight. One person who I will name by name, Jim Carollo.
Rest his soul.
Rest his soul. Jim was, a little bit older, but very wise in the ways of the radio, as he's in the I almost said Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. He's kind of a rock star.
He is a kind of a rock star.
But in the Radio Hall of Fame,
yeah,
Jim, I think it has more to do with age than anything, would say no, and you'd have to work him to yes a little bit.
Yeah.
But then once he got to yes, then he's like locked in with where you're at, and he's trying to make it all like way better.
Right.
Like the radiothon was out on the porch. That was all Jim.
Right.
To have it outside.
Right.
Like, never
so
even
people are
entered,
driving by and they could see us.
Didn't even enter into
see,
my
that
head
was
we could
the
do
difference.
that.
He would start adding to the idea.
Right.
And bringing things to the table that he could actually help implement.
Right.
Yeah, but exactly what you said. Then it turned into, well, what are you going to do next year? And when the third year came around and we said we weren't doing one.
Right, because we barely got, besides the people we brought in, we barely got any help.
Right.
Nobody promoted it. Nobody did anything for it.
Right. They just wanted to reap the benefits.
They reaped the benefit of being on the radio.
Right. And yeah, that kind of chapped us
Stung
a little bit.
Yeah.
That stung a little bit, but at the end of the day, too, you can't keep having just a radiothon every single year and in hopes to save the organization, right? It's not going to happen.
Right.
So everybody who's listening, Sir William, we've been talking now for almost 20 minutes and people are like, but you're not getting to what actually happened. And I keep playing this over and over and over and over and over again in my head. And I don't really know how to answer that question because unfortunately, from my standpoint, we were in a situation where our King Harold had retired. And there was a new king that was promoted or, I don't know, brought in. Elevated, because he had been with us from the jump as well. We'll call him the Walrus. So the Walrus comes in, who I thought we had always had a great relationship with. I thought we were always on the same page.
I mean, he might have shown some signs of being jealous that our show usually got top billing at all the events, but
see, and I don't see that. I mean, you say that now in hindsight, but I didn't see it that way. But we got into a little bit of an argument because after being around us for so many years and people helping people, and now people are recognizing WKRP because of our faces, and they know we're on that station. He all of a sudden wanted to put some new plans in place. And one of those plans is that even though King Harold didn't care what we were doing at all these events, he did. He wanted to know.
Which is great.
Okay.
Especially if you would have done something with that.
Awesome.
I'm more than willing to tell you.
So we had a little bit of a run-in. He was upset that he didn't know that we were doing an event. I agreed that if this is how he wants to do things from here out, I'll let him know every time we're doing an event. And I shook hands with the man. And that's the last conversation I've had with him.
Yeah, and just to go a little bit further, because I think this event was pivotal in this whole thing.
Yeah.
What had happened was we had been signed up, had a few meetings to do an event based on our reputation, based on other things we've done. Somebody asked us to do something. This wasn't the first year of it.
Right.
And of course, it was on a weekend, but we're more than willing to do it as long as we get it on our calendars. Not more than willing. We actually loved doing these types of things. And what this was a talent show at one of the local festivals. And so we went there, and like moments before the show was supposed to start, there was downpouring of rain.
Yeah.
And this thing was not going to happen.
No way.
And unfortunately, they had to wait so long, they couldn't really cancel it. So you've got all these participants who we didn't know up until the time were all kids.
Yeah.
I mean, even the oldest ones were like 21 or something.
Right.
They're all kids.
Right.
And they were dressed up and they were super well rehearsed. And this is a big deal to them. This is not like America's Got Talent TV show, but it's the local version of that.
Right.
Where these kids were so excited and they had families.
And there was a cash prize.
Yeah, it was a big deal.
Yes.
And by the way, as we found out later, a ton of talent.
Yes.
So there we are, standing under a tent with monsoon rain all around us. The whole area where this is going to be held is wiped out with water and stuff. And we're trying to think on our feet, like, what could we do? Here we are. We don't have anything to do with it other than we're going to be the MCs.
Right.
But we're the ones, like, leading the charge of what could we do to help make this the best it could be. We talked about maybe we could move it to an indoor venue or, like, what could we do? Unfortunately, nothing was going to match what the opportunity was.
Yeah.
So I don't even know. I think it was you at the last minute. Somebody was like, maybe we could have them come in.
I like how you're like, maybe it was you. You know it was me.
It's totally you. I want to get half.
Let's have the kids come in and be on WKRP.
On our show.
Be on our show. We'll build it up. We'll even video them. So if you can't hear it locally, we'll also podcast it. So we're going to have these kids get so much more exposure than they ever even would have just standing on the stage.
They're not going to have the crowd in front of them, but this is like, we both thought of that as like the next best thing.
Right.
And maybe even not even, we didn't even know, like, is this a good idea? It was just like, that was what we had.
I just felt so bad for these artists that really had been looking forward to this. So like, how can we make it better?
They and their parents hear of this, and they think they've died and gone to heaven.
Yeah.
Like, they're going to be on the big WKRP radio station, and they're rock stars and all that. So,
which, P.S., they didn't even know we existed.
Right, exactly. Oh, yeah. That's kind of an important P.S.
That's a major P.S. So again, here we are, spreading the love. Don't go home and dial us in.
So this is on a Saturday, and it was the last minute. And we knew we had some work to do on our own to make sure that we could pull this off.
Yeah.
I don't remember if there was 20 acts or something like that.
Yeah.
So we asked the lady in charge of the whole thing to help us schedule these acts 10 minutes at a time. We had to go check the calendar when the studio would be free and all that. And we came up with 2 times.
Yeah.
2 like 3 or 4 hour blocks. Again,
our volunteer time.
Right. To do this. And
hold me back, Sir William. Hold me back.
We've never talked about this, but I think we did it, number 1, for those kids.
Yes.
And number 2, it was going to bring really good publicity to the radio station.
Correct.
Like, all of a sudden, we're heroes.
Right.
We could have even actually got a newspaper person to write, heroes have, save the day. So we do that. It's all good.
Right.
And one person got the time messed up, which is understandable because it was, again, a monsoon rainstorm under a tent. And these parents are showing up and probably like, okay, you've got, these 3-hour blocks. You get a 10-minute slot. Sign up here on a wet piece of paper. And the gentleman forgot what day it was, or what day and time his child was supposed to perform.
Yeah.
So then we weren't prepared. Like, we didn't have business cards. We didn't have. No. We were there to MC something, So then he started making some phone calls, called our station, WKRP in Lake in the Hills, and basically talked to the Walrus.
Yeah.
Who had no idea what was going on.
Yeah.
And instead of using a shred of logic and Googling it.
Yeah.
Or, I don't know.
Asking the 2 people that
thinking like,
do stuff in the community.
Who in this station would do this? He starts calling other radio stations.
Yeah.
To see if they're doing it. Because clearly we're not. Because he didn't know about it.
Right.
Now, he was mortified. We got like reamed instead of, oh, thank you for thinking of the people of the community and the station. It was, he didn't know, so we made him look bad.
Right.
And again, I couldn't agree with you more. We used to post every event we were doing on the bulletin board in the studio for people to see.
Right.
And nobody did anything with it. No one showed up. No one talked about it on their show. No one was like, how'd that go? You mentioned handwritten card. That makes me laugh because we weren't even in the ballpark of handwritten card.
Right.
Nothing. There was nothing. So why even waste the piece of paper that it took to print the list on?
Right. But it's not like this was a secret either. We post everything on our Facebook page.
And it was on theirs.
We post everything on our Instagram. We're on all social medias. All you had to do was just check out our Facebook page, and you could have seen we were doing it.
It was on the WKRP Facebook page.
It hurts my head.
So...
It hurts my head. But again, you and I both agreed in that moment We didn't apologize for his mistake, the walrus, because nobody told you to make that phone call. But we both agreed from here forward, if you wanted to know the ins and outs of the Duchess and Sir William's whereabouts, we will absolutely add you to our mailing list and let you know what we're doing.
Right.
And perhaps even. Now, then it starts to get real interesting. Because it turns into not only was this the issue, but there's been multitude of issues.
But wait,
and
there's more.
Now we're going to be upset with you about this and about that and about this and about that. But this is where it takes a really nasty, ugly turn for me, because the walrus stops talking to me and starts talking to you for you to then tell me.
Right. And this is a deep, dark problem at WKRP that we've discussed on many occasions.
Offline,
of course, but if there is something in the Urban Dictionary called a boys' club,
I've seen it, I've lived it, and here it is yet again.
this would be it. I mean...
sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, and I'm not saying this just because you and I are friends and have been for a long time, but you were the most talented person to walk through the doors at that place the entire time it was open. Some could argue, like a really popular sports guy who has been on the radio for 30 years would be in the same league. But even that, he was pigeonholed into one thing. You brought a level of talent not only to our show, not only to the station, to the role of the program director. It was talent unlike anything they'd ever seen. And because you're a woman, they couldn't handle it. And it pisses me off to no end. And you brought it up, and the first time you brought it up to me, I was like, oh, I could be a feminist. I'm like, I don't see that. And then all of a sudden, we were at an event, and I swear to God, someone almost pushed you off the stage. We'll call him Pig Vomit.
Yes.
And from that moment on, I've been observing it. And with elderly people, it's a little bit tougher to get them to see things without being blatant and without being attackful to them. For somebody like Pig Vomit to do it, I found myself, I couldn't even be in the same room as him anymore. It was so despicable what he did.
Well, I just want to say thank you. You almost made me cry with those beautiful words. I really am speechless. And so I thank you, honestly. I'm not going to make this into a bigger deal than it was. I'm not pressing any charges. Nothing major happened. I'm just saying, especially in a volunteer position, when you are around the chummy old boys club like that, it's just so disappointing, especially for someone like myself who I'm not going to back down just because I'm a talented, confident, strong woman. I'm not backing down.
Right.
I agreed with your new policy and I wanted to continue. You decided from there to pick on Sir William about everything under the sun, and you apparently, who knew that you were making a mistake by saying you wanted to dial back on some of the things that you were doing at the station so that you could focus on things that really bring you joy, like our show. And then you were told your show will no longer exist because you're so busy. Now, how does that make sense? You see, when we're volunteering for something, we're the ones that get to say what we will and will not do. Just like you and I were a part of another organization volunteering our time, and when we saw that it started to turn sideways, we backed out and said, you know what, it's not going to line up with what we can do right now. We wish you the best. Peace out, right? Mm-hmm. We made that decision because we know our calendar. We know what we're capable of. We know what we can give back. But for this person, the walrus, to say, I'm the new head honcho in charge, And even though you bring us a great show Monday through Friday,
which compares to shows that come on once a month
and replayed for
18
times throughout the month. If you don't want that anymore, fine. If I had done something to upset you, fine. If I had broken every FCC rule, fine. Have the balls to tell me yourself.
Right.
Don't tell my NSLP
right.
to tell me, because then when that happened, we requested a meeting so that I could sit in the same room and hear these words.
Right.
Because I was stunned and I didn't believe it, right?
Yep.
This is where you and I started arguing, because I'm like, this can't be. You must have heard it wrong. He must not have meant that. Like, we all need to sit down.
There had to be something else.
And what do we get back? The walrus himself sends back an email that says, nay, nay, Pilgrim, we will not be meeting. We will not be discussing. The decision is final, and this has been talked to death.
We've already spent too much time talking about it. Right.
Hello, the Duchess hasn't even talked once yet.
Your last interaction was a handshake saying, yeah, we'll do this going forward.
Right.
Yeah.
Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting.
And
to me.
I just want to emphasize one point you made, and that is that other volunteer thing that we did that we ended up getting out of.
Yeah.
That's a typical volunteer type scenario.
Totally.
We're on a team of 10 people that are putting on an event, and, you divide and conquer.
Right.
And we had meetings once a month, and maybe they get a little more intense as you get closer to the thing. And that's like when people talk about volunteering, that's what volunteering is. This isn't that.
No.
You and I, and again, is it for selfish reasons? Yes, for me, it has been a huge creative outlet that I wouldn't have otherwise had, and in some times where I needed that a lot.
Right.
But you and I put in so many hours. I can't tell you. I mean, at one point when you mentioned that I had come to the conclusion I was maybe doing too much based on this sort of new attitude we have.
Yeah.
At that time I was doing 18 half-hour shows a week, which is 9 hours plus the prep for that, plus other stuff.
Right.
Yeah, it's too much.
Right.
And quite frankly, I can't stand hearing my voice on the radio, so I didn't want to hear it,
That's more than a part-time job.
But why did I do it? In some of the cases, some of the material, like an evening news show, was super important for WKRP. I mean, they needed to have it, and nobody else would do it. And nobody else would, and even though from the day I said, I'll do it for now, nobody, including the Walrus, including Pig Vomit, including King Harold, nobody would look for an alternative for that.
Right.
Even though apparently they probably all thought it was too much, but nobody wanted to do anything about it. So they wanted it, and it was too much. I don't understand.
Yeah.
But I just want to give people who are listening the depth of how much time we put into this thing. You and I both have studios in our homes so we could deliver, because we couldn't get in. There were so many times we needed to be in and recording, and there's one studio to record in.
Right.
We couldn't get in there, so we had to bring it to our homes. More money, by the way, that we spent to do that, which I'm glad we did, because here we are now.
Here we are now with all of you. But I know that this might not be making sense to you, and it shouldn't, because it makes no sense to Sir William and I. It makes no sense other than, we were on a sinking ship, and all we can do now is say thank you. We had a great time. We learned a lot, and good luck without us. Mm-hmm. But we're on to bigger and better things. We've just started a new morning podcast. If you haven't signed in to listen to that, it's on the same channel. It's called The Morning Quickie. It's going to come to you Monday through Friday. It's a 15-minute out the door, all you need. It's local as well as national. So even if you're not listening, from our local area.
And so easy to get between iTunes and Spotify.
Oh my gosh, and we just got onto Spotify. We just got onto Google.
We're on YouTube.
I know. So listen, I wish everyone well, even all of the pigs over at WKRP, you know, all of the people. And they weren't all awful. There were some really great people that we worked with. So we made sure to go down that list, and we sent out emails to a lot of people.
So you know who you are.
To tell you, hey, by the way, we're no longer there. Best wishes to you. But you know what, Sir William, at the end of the day, this was probably a good thing for us to be pushed to move and to grow and to bring our product out into a different arena, because if they can't support our people helping people and community first, if they can't support that, then what do we need them for? Nothing.
Right.
Because we do have a good thing going, and we're going to do it without them.
And I just want the one thing, as this all started unraveling, that I just want people to really know, people in our community especially, is that we're still here. We're still here in the same capacity that we've been in. We're going to be able to MC events and, you know, do things that play music, do things we've done for you in the past. We literally have, totally randomly, like I said, we have our own studios. We have a music setup, just like what we had there. It's actually better. It's got a wireless mic. We're cool. You know, and we're fine. We're good. But we're still here. And we're still here. We still want to do what we've done.
And you're also available if you live near us, if you live in the Huntley, Lake in the Hills, Algonquin, Crystal Lake area, you can also see us in print with your magazine, Huntley Happenings. And Huntley Happenings, I understand, is growing. It's not just Huntley. So you don't have to look at the title and say, well, I don't live in Huntley, so it has nothing to do with me. But yeah, with that, we're still a part of the community. We're still a part of the chamber. We're still going to be around. You can't get rid of us. You're just going to get us in a different avenue.
And one where there's no boundaries.
Which is really great.
We're not boxed in.
If you know of a business owner that would love to partner with us,
you know what we can say now?
Reach out.
We can say, like, you should go to Lucky Bernie's in Huntley because they have the best damn sandwich I've ever had.
They have the best Reuben.
They use boar's head meat.
I know. I love
Their
it.
cheese is amazing. Their preparation is amazing. It's very inexpensive for what you get.
I know, but our girlfriend April moved downtown.
I know. And our
but go to Lucky Bernie's and have a drink.
So we can say that now.
Yeah, we can totally say that now. We can pump up any local events that we're doing.
Tell them Sir William and the Duchess sent you.
That's right. You can ask for a two gingers drink.
Right.
But that's the story in a nutshell. I know it doesn't make a lot of sense. And if you have more questions, reach out to us on social media, or you can email me at theduchess1015@gmail.com.
Or you can contact the Walrus directly, and maybe you'll get some answers. If you do find out anything that we haven't
Please
shared
let
today,
me know.
let us know for sure. Because we're still in the dark, but our dark is looking pretty good today.
Okay, but seriously, how do they find us on social media?
Oh, this way.
Please follow us on social media. Our website is twogingers.com. That's gingers with a Z. On Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest at Two Gingers. And on Twitter at Two Gingers. At Sir William 1015 and at the Duchess 1015.
Sir William, I thought that we did a pretty great job at wrapping up that story as best we can.
Yes, and now we're going to move on, and we're going
to move forward.
Take this thing to new heights.
Yeah, so thank you.
And don't forget to tune into the Morning Quickie every morning. Subscribe. It'll be fed right to your phone.
Yeah.
15 minutes.
Share it with your friends.
You guys share it with 2 friends.
Go ahead and give us a 5-star rating right now. We need you. Without you, we're nothing. Bye-bye.
Stay classy.